Amir Khan gets a clear, unanimous decision over Devon Alexander in a fight that I think was Khan's best performance to date as far as the level of competition he faced and just how he looked in the ring. He really showed that at 147, the speed, and I don't want to see so much the power. I mean, he was hitting Alexander with some really hard shots, and it was, I think, obviously more of a speed factor when it comes to Amir Khan. And I think now, being with Virgil Hunter, this is like, I think his third fight with him, but his second fight at welterweight, and he looks almost like he's hitting his peak as far as what physically and offensively he can do in the ring. He did get hit with some shots in the fight, which I think also parlays into the whole thing of him making 147 now, because there's no secret that from 135 to 140, he was having trouble making weight. And that's really not necessarily to make an excuse as why he was getting knocked out by these guys, but, well, really only two guys. But he looks like he's a little more patient, but it's like he's starting to learn how to turn it on and off as far as the speed and the movement and the aggression that he has when he's, you know, getting his shots off. Devon Alexander, I think, has always been a guy that I've always seen as just a pretty good fighter. I've never put him very high, never really put him low, but, you know, we've seen him in fights with Timothy Bradley, and then, you know, as recent as the Sean Porter fight. And he's just, you know, an on-par guy. And Amir Khan has different attributes that are obviously at a high level. Obviously, his speed and his combination punching. What I like that he did in this fight was he kind of showed his poise of it and wasn't, you know, being too reckless, but was seeing that Alexander couldn't really get anything off and was just waiting for like a little left hook to land. And even when he did land those shots, though, it surprised me to an extent, I'll say, that Khan was really, you know, taking these shots. And I think a couple of them, he was like, all right. But for the most part, man, I mean, I think we sort of have to look past this whole Amir Khan glass chin theory. In two fights that I've seen with him, with Collazo and Devon Alexander, he's been hit with punches, but he hasn't really, in a sense, been hurt, you know. And Collazo's been a guy that's, you know, got a decent, nice punch, and Alexander isn't a power puncher by definition, but I mean, he's hurt guys in the past too. I think what we're seeing here is, and Amir Khan alluded to it, is he's making weight a lot easier now. There's not a lot of struggle, you know, the day before a fight where he's trying to cut like 7-8 pounds, which is detrimental to, you know, your health in general. But like in a fight, that can zap you. At 147 now, it's like the speed is there. He's moving really well. To Devon's fault, he wasn't cutting the ring off on Amir Khan, just more like following him, which I think made it easier for Khan, because Khan knows how to fight on the back foot. Being with Virgil Hunter, I've seen he's now, more so with this fight than in previous ones, you're starting to see major improvements in that department. And you know, one of the guys, or the guy he's been calling out, has been Floyd Mayweather for the better part of 2-3 years. And you know, he's hit these little bumps on the road that just make people laugh. But it's just, boxing is so funny in this way, where 1 year or just a couple fights changes the perception of everything. And while we look at Floyd Mayweather, and even these fights with Maidana and the fights that he's had even prior to that, you know, we haven't seen him in there with a guy with a lot of speed. And being as Floyd didn't look his very best in really both of the Maidana fights. You know, you got a guy like Amir Khan, who Malignaggi has said this for like a couple years, is he's hard to win rounds against. And with Floyd Mayweather not being a very active guy, and Amir Khan is busy, but makes it really hard for you to kind of fire back on him. And Floyd Mayweather at this point of his career isn't a guy that's sitting there really trading with you. As of Friday, Floyd pretty much called out Pacquiao, said, yo, May 2nd, let's get it on. I'm still optimistic, but with Amir Khan, he's going to be a force at welterweight. I'm looking at guys like a Keith Thurman, who didn't really look impressive in his fight on Showtime, you know, the fight before. Even putting Pacquiao in that equation, and I think he is a tough fight for every one of those guys. You can't ignore the speed. At welterweight, you're starting to see he's filling into his size, and I don't know if that's going to translate into the power coming in a little later, but I don't think Khan, in general, has always been like the biggest puncher. He's just, you know, again, referring back to Malignaggi, he's just such a tough guy to fight because he throws these pity-pat shots, and some of these shots, like I said, they were getting in on Devon, and some of those shots were coming in really hard, and you know, Devon took them, you know, you know, as far as giving him credit and being able to take a punch. He's gonna be a really tough guy to beat, I think, and until he gets in there with another puncher, like, you know, again, like maybe a Pacquiao or a Thurman, let's just say, or some of these other guys, and then they exchange with him, then we'll see what his chin is really made of at 147. But as far as I've seen, he looks like he could take a decent punch. I think after this weekend, we're really gonna know what Floyd's overall move, because whether people think it's still you know, it's in Pacquiao's court, it's really in Floyd's court because he's the controlling factor. If he doesn't fight Pacquiao, I think Khan is the runner-up. And call me crazy, you know, I've been a guy to criticize Amir Khan in the past, but just looking how strong he looks and how fast he's looking, I won't mind seeing a Mayweather fight if the Pacquiao fight doesn't happen. But I'll go on record right now saying that if Floyd doesn't fight Pacquiao now, and they save it for the last fight, I think you're just fucking the fans even more, man. I mean, I'm optimistic that that fight will happen only because he basically called Pacquiao out, and it's kind of making it seem as if like, all right, yeah, we're about to do it, but you know how boxing goes. So I think a fight with Danny Garcia, a rematch, is maybe inevitable. Based on how he looked last night, man, I wouldn't like Danny's chances in that fight. So let's just see what happens. But as I always say, subscribe, hit the links, and I'll be back with you soon.